Hello folks, Emily Valario, Pharmacist Witch here. So I'm filming this outside and it's kind of cold, but you know what? When I was in my last job, I didn't have any windows. The whole practice was enclosed and there were no windows, and I'm just so grateful right now to be able to not only have windows, but to be outside. So here we are, taking full advantage, even in the cold. It's good for us, right? So the video today is intended to make sense of what happened for me. I was about 60 pounds overweight, feeling, stuck in my life, in my work, in my relationship. Everything just felt like I had no agency over it, and I just felt stuck. And a series of events happened that allowed me to get myself unstuck, that allowed me, in fact, to feel like I could really take control over my life, that I could be a witch and have my own business and really just do what I felt I was called to do. And the first time when I really started to understand how this came to be was at the Benson Henry Institute of Mind-Body Medicine conference. So Mass General Hospital and Harvard University have this shared department called the Benson Henry Institute of Mind-Body Medicine. Perhaps you've heard of them. One of the things that they're really famous for is the SMART training, which is stress management and resiliency training. And the whole premise there is that just like we have a stress response, when we feel under threat, we release, epinephrine, norepinephrine, also known as adrenaline, noradrenaline. And cortisol, another stress hormone. Our heart rate goes up, our blood pressure goes up, our oxygen consumption increases, and we have this whole physiological response to stress when we feel threatened, and that can be psychologically threatened as well as physically threatened. But their whole premise for this training is that we also have a relaxation response that we can induce. So anyway, that's kind of the basis for this mind-body medicine department. And so I went to the conference, and one of their keynote speakers was Dr. Martin Picard, and he works at Columbia University's Center on Aging, and he's doing some really interesting research on mitochondria. You might remember that mitochondria are the little organelles in our cells that take the glucose from our food and our stored glucose, and they, in the presence of oxygen, turn it into energy in the form of ATP. And ATP is the energy molecule that fuels most of the processes in our bodies. It's pretty amazing. And so in his research, he has proposed a shift in the way we think about our health and our bodies. Right now, we very much subscribe to a model of discrete signals and broken pathways. So, I did a lot of work with folks who had diabetes, and the idea here is, we focus in on where the blood sugar problems are, right? There's insulin resistance, or there's an absence of insulin, and the way we handle it is just kind of figuring out, okay, what are the signaling pathways, and can we create drugs that improve those signaling pathways, or that intercept, or that replace lost signals. So it's very much, looking at a narrow scope of the illness, right? And that's just diabetes, but it's the same kind of thing for hypertension. It's the same kind of thing for everything, right? We're looking at a discrete signal, either to replace it, to interrupt it, etc. And so Martin Picard's recommendation is, instead of looking at discrete parts, looking at our bodies as discrete parts, to instead look at the way energy flows through our body, through our organs and our organ systems, and just kind of look at energy flow more globally. And so he recommends that we consider our energy budget. And this maybe isn't a super surprising way to look at it. We know that we do have a fixed energy supply. And what I mean by that is, if you eat a box full of donuts, It's not going to make you supercharged, right? It's not going to give you, super speed or strength or anything. It's not, it doesn't add to your energy. You have a fixed budget. In fact, to process all of that glucose, all the sugar from those donuts, it's going to require you spend energy, right? You are going to have to signal to your pancreas to make more insulin, and then that insulin is going to have to unlock gated channels to have the glucose flow in, and the glucose will have to be stored. And every step of the process to process that big bolus of glucose is going to require energy to be spent. So all of that is to say, we have a fixed energy budget, unfortunately. And so it's, Dr. Picard recommends that we think about what that budget might look like. We know that some energy goes to our vital function, right? Our beating heart, producing hormones and signals that help different parts of our body communicate with each other, right? We know that there are vital functions that require energy. Then we know that there are functions like growth, maintenance, and repair. So part of our energy is going to go to growth, maintenance, and repair. We go out into the sun and we're, our skin's exposed to the sun. There might be some damage there, but with the energy in our budget, we can repair that to a certain degree. Preserving the length of our telomeres at the end of our chromosomes to prevent premature aging. Producing stem cells, right? There are all of these different processes that help us grow, maintain, and repair our system. Then there's some energy for what we call allostasis. So it used to be that we thought about the body in terms of homeostasis. For every action, there was a counter reaction. And this is kind of true, but really what it ends up looking like is, from an allostasis perspective, we have stress from the environment that we need energy to accommodate, and that stress might be in the form, it might be physical stress, right? Like standing up in front of a group of people, your heart races faster. You need energy to help your heart beat faster in that moment, or to run away from a tiger or something. You need that extra energy to do that. Or you might need extra energy to accommodate for your stress response from psychological stress. And gosh, we have a lot of psychological stress that we are exposed to these days. The threat of global warming, climate change, the stress of integrating a global population from discrete parts, the stress of inequities in terms of income and race and gender, and right, there are lots of psychological stresses. And so, we have some energy in our budget to help us handle these stresses, but with repeated exposure to these stresses over time, that energy in the budget, poof, it's gone. And maybe we have some energy in the reserves, and poof, that's gone, again, after repeated exposure to these stressors. And so, then what happens? We have a fixed energy budget. We blow through our allostasis energy and our reserve energy. Now we're dipping into our growth, maintenance, and repair energy. So now where our body was once able to, accommodate a bolus of glucose, now our pancreas it doesn't have the energy to produce that insulin to do that anymore, and so the blood sugar goes up, and when the blood sugar goes up, we know the cascade that happens from there. We know that when one organ starts to fail, it stresses the energy distribution of the whole system, right? So if our pancreas isn't working optimally anymore, well then, there are risks for the kidneys, there are risks for the heart, right? We're aware that folks who have diabetes, if we're not able to manage it well, it's not uncommon to have kidney disease, to have heart failure later on. So again, it's looking at energy flow rather than the discrete parts of these diseases. It's looking at why are systems struggling? Where is that energy going? And this is not meant to be it's not meant to be disempowering. On the contrary, we also know that there are things that we can do to make our energy system more efficient. We can't add energy to the budget, but we can make it more efficient. An example would be, exercise, right? Moving your body. It's going to require some increased energy expenditure up front, but after rest and recovery, in time, your heart muscle is going to be more efficient. It's not going to have to beat as fast to pump your blood, oxygenated blood throughout the body. So we know exercise makes your system more efficient. And just as physical stress takes energy out of the budget, and we can make that more efficient, our psychological stress takes energy out of the budget. So we have this possibility of making our mind more efficient at using energy. And that's really what the idea of meditation, of mindfulness, of gratitude practice, of practicing kindness, right? All of these things, and again, they're all practices, right? None of this kind of efficiency happens overnight, but when we grow these muscles, our whole energetic system becomes more efficient. We're not dedicating as much energy to putting up ego defenses. We're not spending as much energy on self-criticism or fear or guilt or shame or any of those feelings that take our energy from us. We can make it more fit. The whole system we can make more fit. And so when I think about what happened with me, how it was that I've changed, I feel I've changed so much. It really comes down to feeling like my energetic system is more efficient, starting with exercise and then finding my way into meditation and gratitude and the whole rest. I have energy now that I never thought possible. And it's pretty amazing. And it's, certainly something that I'd love for other people to know about. Dr. Picard's work is, it's been a real paradigm shift in my mind. So, I'd certainly love to chat about these ideas more and definitely check out Dr. Picard's articles. He's written many fascinating things, and he has a book coming out that will be titled Simply Energy. So I can't wait to read it. But thank you all so much.